All right, guys. So we have some very interesting developments with this Lil Nas X story that I've been following, right? And I really should stop telling you guys that, I'm gonna stop talking about a story, because every single time I say that, there's always a new development that makes me have to talk about it again, because this is important, right? As Nike is suing the company that helped produce the so-called Satan shoes with human blood in them, right? They're suing that company, and they also want those shoes destroyed because they've got a ton of backlash from conservatives regarding Nike's alleged role in producing these shoes. Okay, it's damaging their brand. And I'm talking about this because this is an important business lesson and also an important political lesson that I want to share with you guys that relates to what I like to call the political speed limit theory, right? Or hypothesis, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to talk about that because I think this story clearly demonstrates how this hypothesis works. So let's get into this story, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about the political speed limit hypothesis. Nike is having a devil of a time with Lil Nas X's blood-infused sneakers. The sportswear giant wants every pair of the viral rapper's Satan shoes destroyed because they allegedly duped consumers into thinking Nike supports devil worship. Nike made the extreme request in a lawsuit against MSCHF, the creative agency that designed the custom Air Max 97s that were released in a limited edition of 666 pairs alongside Lil Nas X's new single, Montero. Nike blames Brooklyn-based MSCHF for the conservative backlash against the legendary footwear brand that followed the launch of the shoes, which are decked out with pentagram pendants, inverted crosses, and soles containing a drop of human blood. Quote, in a short time since the announcement of the Satan shoes, Nike has suffered significant harm to its goodwill, including among consumers who believe that Nike is endorsing Satanism. Nike said in its complaint filed Monday in Brooklyn federal court. The Oregon-based company included screenshots of online comments from shoppers saying that they would never buy Nike products again because of the devilish drop, which one person called pure evil. Nike quickly distanced itself from the shoes after the project became public, but some consumers apparently didn't buy the company's claims that it wasn't involved because the sneakers were stamped with its signature swoosh logo. Quote, MSCHF is deceiving consumers into believing that Nike manufactures or approves of the Satan shoes, and consumers' belief that the Satan shoes are genuine Nike products is causing consumers to never want to purchase any Nike products in the future, the lawsuit reads. While the Satan shoes are made from actual Nike sneakers, the company argues that MSCHF doctored them in such a way that they constitute new unauthorized product. The complaint seeks a court order forcing MSCHF to hand over the shoes, which sold out in less than a minute for $1,018 a pair to Nike for destruction, and barring the inferior firm from selling or shipping any of them. Nike also wants MSCHF to pay financial damages for harming its brand. MSCHF did not immediately respond to a request for comment Tuesday, but several online observers noted that Nike did not react so strongly after MSCHF released Jesus shoes filled with holy water in 2019. Quote, did Nike also sue over the Jesus shoes, or is this a targeted lawsuit against a religious minority? One commenter wrote on Twitter. Quote, these didn't sell out in less than a minute because they're Nikes. They sold out because of the unique customization along with Lil Nas X's name attached to it, another person tweeted. Nike shares were down about 0.4% at $133 a share in pre-market trading as of 7:31 a.m. Tuesday. All right, guys. So what is the takeaway from this? So as you guys saw and read, Nike did not do anything when this company dropped the so-called Jesus shoes with holy water, right? They didn't say anything, right? And the reason why they didn't say anything, guys, is because they saw that as acceptable. And there's an argument to be made that Nike benefits from these kind of rogue companies that take their, sneakers and customize them in ways that the Nike creative or marketing department has not done yet, right? That kind of push the envelope a little bit, right? And Nike apparently doesn't have a problem with this, right? However, Lil Nas X and this company push the envelope a little bit too far this time with these quote unquote Satan shoes, right? And to me, guys, this clearly demonstrates what I like to call the political speed limit hypothesis, okay? And this hypothesis kind of goes like this, right? Basically, there is a speed limit, right, in which society can progress politically. Now, this specifically applies to social issues, right? That is the most relevant use of this theory, right? And across the political spectrum, whether you are conservative or liberal, you are progressing in some way, right? For example, let's think about before the 1960s, doing segregation. Back then, segregation was acceptable. Those who wanted to progress were like, no, we need to integrate, right? Eventually, we started to integrate, and now even the most conservative people would not be vouching for segregation, okay? You'd be hard to find, a conservative that, would be for segregation, okay? That's just kind of how it works. And this also applies to other issues, right? For example, when it comes to same-sex marriage, right? The Democrats in the 90s were against same-sex marriage. So was the Republicans, right? They were more conservative. Now, as society started to progress, you can see that the Democrats got on board with same-sex marriage in the early 2010s, and Republicans and conservatives, for the most part, also are more tolerant of the issue, right? That's just an example. So with that being said, that means that even conservatives are progressives to a certain extent. Now, the biggest difference is that conservatives observe the so-called speed limit, right? There is a speed limit that is kind of arbitrary, right? This speed limit dictates the speed that is acceptable for progression, the speed limit, so to speak, okay? Now, conservatives tend to want to travel below the speed limit, right? They if the speed limit is 60, conservatives probably want to go 55, 40. And if you're extremely conservative and you're older, then you probably want to go 35, in a 60. Okay, for example. Now, obviously, nobody is going 0, okay, because of what I've told you guys before in regards to society and how we progress and how even the most conservative among us cannot stay still, which means go 0 or go backwards. And the reason why is because as society evolves and technology changes, there will be more problems for society, and society's going to have to adjust over time. There's going to have to be some progression no matter what. So therefore, there cannot be people who are just in 0, right? Because those people would get left behind, right? That's just how it is. So the question is, what is too fast and what is too slow? Obviously, those who tend to want to go a little bit faster, they want to go above the speed limit, see those that are going too slow, like conservatives, as bigots and racists, right? That's what they say, because they're like, oh, you want to go back to the past, you're going too slow, you're not catching up with the wave, right? And those who are going too fast tend to be called woke, right? You're too woke, you're going too fast, you're trying to move society in a direction that we don't want to go, in which any and everything is acceptable. Okay, there are no limits on the things that society is willing to tolerate. Traditional values are no longer valuable, right? They don't mean anything. And a good example of this, I was actually just looking at this chart the other day. It's a Gallup poll that basically shows that membership in religious institutions is literally at the lowest ever, in which we now have less than half of Americans are now members of a religious institution, right? Which is down from, I think, like 70% in the 1940s, right? This is what naturally happens with progressivism, right? Which is why conservatives, on the other hand, when they're like, no, we're trying to conserve traditional values in traditional society, okay? Trying to conserve it, right? Now, in reference to the political speed limit hypothesis, like I was telling you guys, there is a speed limit that's theoretical and arbitrary. We don't really know what it is, but it's something. It's a speed limit that is acceptable. Most people feel comfortable with in regards to progression. Most people are going the speed limit, right? And companies, right, have a guess in terms of what that speed limit is, right? And they try to tailor their marketing towards that speed limit. So a company like Nike, for example, probably thinks that the speed limit is a little bit higher, considering how they have endorsed a lot of these woke movements like Black Lives Matter and these social justice movements that tend to be more progressive, right, and tend to align with more leftist ideology. So to conservatives, the speed limit might be, let's say, 60, right? That's what conservatives are willing to accept in terms of societal change. And, you know, most conservatives try to go below that. But Nike, on the other hand, right, in comparison to conservatives, think that the speed limit is 80, okay? And again, that's why they've aligned themselves and pushed the whole social justice and woke movement, okay? Because they think the speed limit is higher than what conservatives think, okay? Nike is trying to align themselves with where they think most of society is at, right? Again, it's relative and it's arbitrary. But what Lil Nas X did and this company did is that they basically, right, if the speed limit is, 80 for Nike, they decided to go 140, right? And they crashed and they burned, right? Because them going 140 obviously is more than twice the speed that conservatives are acceptable with, right? If conservatives are acceptable with 60 and 60 miles per hour over 80, which is what Nike thought most of the population is with, right? So Lil Nas X, selling these Satan shoes and this Satan music video, right, turned off a lot of people, right? And it made people think that Nike endorses Satanism, right, which represents this really fast rate of speed, right, in which a lot of people who may be comfortable with going 80 may have looked at that and say, oh, no. If this is what is associated with Nike, right? If that society now believes that Nike is going a lot farther ahead of them, they're a lot more progressive than them, that is going to red pill a lot of people. That's what turns a lot of people off, right? Because now the perception of Nike's values do not align with those that Nike feel is going the same speed limit as them, right? And that causes a lot of people to reject companies like Nike and also to look at the progressive movement and those who are speeding way too fast and say, you know what, we got to slow down, right? And it causes people to become more conservative. And, it's funny because when I did a call-in show, right, a couple weeks ago, one of the callers asked me, what do you think we need to do in order to red pill people? How are more people going to become more red pill? And I told him, I said, well, I think people will become more red pill just from the fact that the left is going to go too far left on these social issues, right? People got to keep in mind that this country, right, in regards to a Western standard, is still very socially conservative, right? We still have a significant religious population, right? We still embrace traditional values. We still value the nuclear family. We still value marriage, right? Getting a house, having kids. Traditional values are still valued in this society. And again, a lot of people can tolerate, a certain rate of progression, but when it gets to the point where you have somebody like Lil Nas X, who's not only just a part of the LGBTQ community, which in and of itself is progressive, right? He's also pushing these satanic symbols and other things that basically are confirming a lot of conspiracy theories, right? Like a lot of people that, believe certain things, he's basically confirming those things. A lot of people, again, are going to be turned off by that. They're like, oh, no. If this is what is associated with this type of progression, I'm not with it. And this is literally exactly what happened, right? Because like I told you guys, Nike was cool with the whole Kaepernick Black Lives Matter woke movement, even though there was conservative backlash. Nike treated that conservative backlash as if, oh no, these are the minority. These are people who don't want to go to speed limit. You're the minority of people. Most people are going to speed limit, right? And that's why Nike was cool with it. And Nike obviously thought they were right because companies are going to do what's best for their bottom line, right? They're going to do what's best for their bottom line. But see, what happened with this is that not only was it just conservatives, it was people who tend to be more liberal, who still value traditional values, were like, nah. Y'all going way too far with this. Okay? And Nike being associated with that ultimately caused damage to their brand, right? So, I just thought that this situation was a great example of the political speed limit test. And like I said, guys, the left, ultimately, their Achilles heel is that they're going to go too far left, right? They want society to change at a breakneck speed in which most people are just not comfortable with. Most people are not comfortable with somebody like Lil Nas X, who've been marketed towards children, putting out videos like this and content like this, right? While also being endorsed by, major brands and music companies. Like, most people are going to be turned off, right? And therefore, they're going to be turned off from the companies that are associated with Lil Nas X. And this is exactly what happened with Nike, which is why they have to sue. Obviously, they didn't sue over the Jesus shoes because a good portion of society is still religious, right? There's no real controversy with that. Okay? So I just wanted to use this as an example to demonstrate that hypothesis to you guys. And let me know what you guys think. It'll be interesting to see what actually comes of this. I'm not necessarily sure, how this company will defend themselves. But, I mean, it seems that in the past, Nike was pretty loose with their trademark when it came to this type of stuff. So that could be a weakness. But I'm not a trademark lawyer, so I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.